The Galactic Council had waited many years for this moment. For the first time, they were going to meet a new species from a distant blue planet called Earth. The reports about humans were simple. They were young, not very advanced, and mostly peaceful. Many leaders believed this would be an easy and friendly first contact. The meeting was arranged in deep space, far from any planet. A large council station floated quietly between the stars. Ships from many different alien races surrounded it, watching and waiting. Some were curious. Some were excited. A few were careful, but not afraid. Humans are not a threat, one council member said. They are too new. Another nodded. Yes. We will welcome them peacefully. Far away, a small human ship moved slowly toward the station. It was simple in design. No heavy weapons were visible. No large energy signals were detected. It looked calm, almost too calm. Inside the station, many eyes watched the human ship on large screens. The room was quiet. Everyone was focused. They are close, an officer said. Open communication, the council leader ordered. A soft signal was sent. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a human voice came through. It was calm, steady, and clear. This is the human exploration vessel Horizon. We come in peace. We thank you for this meeting. The council members looked at each other. The voice sounded honest. There was no fear in it. No anger. Just calm confidence. Welcome, humans, the council leader replied. We are pleased to meet you. The human ship stopped at a safe distance. No sudden moves. No strange actions. Everything was controlled and respectful. For a few minutes, the meeting went smoothly. Basic questions were asked. Simple answers were given. The humans spoke about Earth, about their people, and their wish to explore and connect with others. Everything felt normal. But not everyone was relaxed. In one corner of the control room, a sensor officer was watching something carefully. His screen showed empty space around the station. Nothing unusual. No ships. No signals. Still, something felt wrong. He checked the readings again. Then again. A small change appeared for just a second, then disappeared. He frowned. Sir, he said quietly. No one answered. The council was still speaking with the humans. Sir, he said again, louder this time. The council leader turned. What is it? I am detecting something strange, the officer said. Very weak signals, but they are not natural. The room became slightly tense. Explain, the leader said. It looks like energy readings, the officer continued. But there is no object there. Just empty space. Some members laughed softly. Maybe your system is wrong, one of them said. The officer shook his head. No. I checked twice. The leader looked serious now. Scan again. The officer did a full scan of the area. The system worked perfectly. Every known ship was visible. Every signal was clear. But then, it happened again. A short spike of energy. Then nothing. The officer's hands froze. There it is again, he whispered. The leader stood up. Where? The officer pointed at the screen. Right there, near the human ship. All eyes turned to the display. But there was nothing. Only darkness. The stars looked calm. Space looked empty. Too empty. Humans, the leader said slowly, our sensors are detecting unusual readings near your position. Can you explain this? There was a short pause. Then the human voice returned. Calm as before. There is nothing to be concerned about, the human said. The answer did not feel right. The room grew quiet again. The officer leaned closer to his screen. His heart was beating faster now. More readings appeared. Very faint. Very large. And then, gone. His voice shook as he spoke. We are not alone. No one laughed this time. The stars outside the station suddenly felt different. Not peaceful. Not safe. Like something was hiding in the dark. Watching. Waiting. And no one knew what it was. The control room stayed silent after the officer's warning. We are not alone. Those words did not leave anyone's mind. The council leader looked around slowly. No one was smiling now. Even those who had laughed before were quiet. Something had changed. Run a full deep scan, the leader ordered. Yes, sir, the officer replied quickly. He adjusted the system and increased the scan power. The machines began to hum softly. Lines of data moved fast across the screen. Every corner of space around the station was checked again. At first, nothing. Just empty space. The same calm stars. The same darkness. But then, a faint shape appeared for a second. So quick that it almost felt like a mistake. Wait, stop, the officer said. He replayed the scan. There it was again. Not clear. Not complete. But something was there. A shadow. The officer's hand started to shake. This is not an error. The council leader stepped closer. Zoom in. The image enlarged. Still blurry. Still unclear. But the shape was massive. Far bigger than the human ship. Far bigger than anything they expected. How is this possible? One member whispered. Another spoke slowly, it's invisible. The room became cold. The idea itself was dangerous. An object that big, completely hidden. The leader turned back to the communication system. Humans, he said, trying to stay calm, our sensors are showing unknown objects near your location. We ask again, what are you hiding? There was silence. A long silence this time. Too long. Then the human voice returned. Still calm. Still controlled. Your sensors are working correctly, the human said. The answer made everything worse. The leader's expression hardened. Then explain. Another pause. Then. We prefer not to, the human replied. Shock spread across the room. Some council members stood up immediately. This is a threat, one shouted. They brought weapons, another said. Stay calm, the leader ordered, but even his voice was not steady now. The officer kept scanning. More signals appeared. Weak. But many. Not one. Not two. Dozens. Maybe more. All around them. Hidden in plain sight. They are everywhere, the officer whispered. A deep fear started to grow inside the room. The humans had arrived with one small ship. But they were not alone. Not even close. The leader spoke again, slower this time. Humans, why hide such power during a peaceful meeting? The answer came quickly. For safety, the human said. The words were simple. But their meaning was heavy. The council members looked at each other. Safety, for who? Before anyone could speak again, an alarm suddenly sounded. A sharp, loud warning filled the room. Alert! System fluctuation detected, the computer announced. Lights flickered for a second. The officer quickly checked the system. It's not an attack, he said. Just a small glitch, but it affected the sensor grid. Fix it, the leader ordered. I'm trying. For a brief moment, everything went unstable. And then, the truth appeared. The main screen changed. The darkness of space was no longer empty. Shapes started to form. Huge shapes. Clear. Visible. No longer hidden. Gasps filled the room. No, someone whispered. There, surrounding the station. Massive ships floated silently in space. Dark. Cold. Waiting. One of them was so large that it blocked the stars behind it. Its surface was covered with structures, weapons, and glowing lines of light. It looked like a moving fortress. No one spoke. No one moved. The officer's voice was barely audible. It's not just a fleet. His eyes were wide with fear. It's a war fleet. The human voice returned once more. Calm. Unchanged. We did not come unprepared, it said. The screen showed the largest ship slowly turning. As if it was finally ready to be seen. And in that moment, everyone understood. The humans had never been weak. They had just been hidden. No one in the council chamber moved. The image on the main screen felt unreal. Moments ago, space had been empty. Now, it was full of giants. Dark shapes surrounded the station from every side. Some were long and sharp like blades. Others were wide and heavy like moving cities. All of them were silent. No engine flames. No loud signals. Just quiet power. The largest ship stayed in the center of the screen. It was not just big. It was overwhelming. Its surface looked like black metal, smooth but strong. Lines of soft white light moved slowly across it, like veins. Small structures covered its body, but none of them looked random. Everything had a purpose. Weapons. Sensors. Systems far beyond anything the council had seen before. One officer whispered, "That is not a normal ship." No one answered him. Because everyone knew the truth. This was something else. Something built for war. The council leader slowly sat down. His eyes stayed on the screen. "Humans," he said carefully, "what is that ship?" There was no delay this time. The human voice replied clearly. "That is one of our dreadnoughts." The word felt heavy in the air. Dreadnought. Even without knowing its full meaning, everyone understood one thing. It was dangerous. Very dangerous. The officer tried to scan the massive ship again. Now that it was visible, the system could read more data. But what he saw made his fear grow. "Energy levels are too high," he said. "I cannot measure the full output." Another officer added, "Weapon systems detected, but unknown type." The leader looked at the screen again. The dreadnought began to move. Slowly. Smoothly. It did not rush. It did not show force. But every small movement made the station feel smaller. The ship turned just enough to face the council station directly. And then, lights across its surface grew brighter. Not like an attack. More like a signal. A message. The human voice spoke again. "We stayed hidden because we respect first contact," it said. The calm tone did not change. "We believe in peace." Some council members felt a small relief. But it did not last. However, the human continued, "We also believe in safety." The word echoed in the silent room. Safety. The officer swallowed slowly. "Sir," he said to the leader, "more ships are appearing." The screen expanded. Beyond the dreadnought, more human ships became visible. Not just a few. Hundreds. All different in size. All perfectly positioned. Like they had been waiting for the right moment. "They were here the whole time," someone said quietly. "Yes," another replied, "and we never saw them." The leader took a deep breath. "Humans," he said, "if you came in peace, why bring a fleet like this?" The answer came without emotion. Because peace is not always returned, the human said. Silence again. Heavy silence. No anger. No threat. Just truth. The dreadnought moved a little closer. Not enough to attack. But enough to remind everyone of its presence. A low vibration passed through the station systems. Not harmful. But strong. Like a heartbeat. Slow. Controlled. Powerful. The officer checked the readings again. They are not locking weapons, he said. They are just watching. That made it worse. A weapon you cannot see is dangerous. But a weapon that chooses not to act is even more frightening. The leader leaned forward. For what purpose did you reveal your fleet now? He asked. This time, the human voice became slightly colder. Because you asked what we were hiding. The answer was simple. But it hit hard. No one had expected this. No one had prepared for this. They had believed humans were small. New. Harmless. They were wrong. Very wrong. The dreadnought's lights dimmed slightly. The fleet stayed in position. Silent. Waiting. Not as invaders. Not as friends. But as something in between. Something the galaxy had never faced before. And in that moment, fear did not come from an attack. It came from understanding. Humans were peaceful. But they were never weak. And now, everyone could see it. The silence inside the council chamber did not break. No one shouted now. No one argued. Fear had taken a different form. It was quiet. Slow. Heavy. The great hall, once full of confident voices, now felt small. The glowing lights on the walls seemed dim. Even the air felt colder. Every eye was still fixed on the screen. The human fleet had not moved. That was the most disturbing part. They were not attacking. They were not threatening. They were simply there. Waiting. Watching. The council leader pressed his hands together. He had faced many crises before, but this was different. This was not a war. Not yet. But it could become one. At any second. We need to decide, one council member said softly. Do we trust them, or prepare for defense? Another shook his head. Defense? Against that, he pointed at the dreadnought. We would not last a minute. A third voice joined, filled with worry. Maybe they are testing us. Or warning us, someone added. The leader closed his eyes for a moment. Too many thoughts. Too many risks. Meanwhile, the sensor officer continued his work. His hands moved fast, checking every signal again and again. Sir, he said slowly. The leader looked up. What now? There are more, the officer said. The room froze. More, the leader repeated. Yes, far beyond the visible range. The main screen changed again. It zoomed out, showing a wider view of space. At first, nothing new appeared. Then, small flashes. Very far away. Almost impossible to see. But they were there. Hidden ships. More of them. Too many to count. They are everywhere, the officer whispered again. This is not just a fleet, this is full control of the area. A deep realization spread through the room. The humans were not just present. They were in command. Every direction. Every distance. Every escape path. All covered. No one had noticed. Until now. The leader turned back to the communication channel. His voice was slower, more careful. Human vessel, your presence is far greater than expected. The reply came calmly. We understand. The leader continued, choosing his words with care. This level of force creates fear. A short pause. Then the human answered. Fear is not our goal. Another pause. But it is a natural result of misunderstanding. Those words settled heavily in the chamber. Misunderstanding. Had they misunderstood humans from the start? One council member leaned forward. Then explain, he said. Explain why you are truly here. This time, the silence was longer. Almost uncomfortable. Then the human voice returned. We came for contact, it said. Then why bring so much power, the member asked quickly. To make sure the contact remains peaceful, the human replied. Some members looked confused. Others understood. Peace, protected by power. The idea was simple. But dangerous. The leader stood up again, slowly. And if we had chosen aggression, he asked. The answer came without hesitation. Then you would have made a mistake. No anger. No raised voice. Just a statement. Clear. Final. A chill moved through the room. Not because of what was said. But because of how easily it was said. The dreadnought on the screen shifted slightly again. Its massive body moved like it had no weight at all. A few smaller ships adjusted their positions. Not aggressively. Just enough to show coordination. Perfect coordination. Like one mind was controlling them all. The officer checked the systems once more. No weapon locks, he said. No attack signals. The leader nodded slowly. They are not here to fight, he said. Then why does it feel like we already lost? Another member whispered. No one answered that. Because deep inside, they all felt the same. The power in front of them was not loud. Not violent. Not chaotic. It was calm. Controlled. Certain. And that made it far more terrifying. For the first time in a long time, the Galactic Council did not feel in control. They were not leading the moment. They were reacting to it. And far outside the station, hidden in the silent dark, the rest of the human fleet waited. Unseen. Unshaken. Ready. Not for war. But for whatever choice came next. No one spoke for a long time. The council chamber, once filled with power and control, now felt quiet and uncertain. Every leader understood one simple truth. The moment was no longer theirs. It belonged to the humans. Outside, the great dreadnought remained still. Its massive form blocked part of the stars, like a dark wall in space. The smaller ships held their positions, perfectly aligned, perfectly calm. No movement. No threat. Just presence. And that presence was enough. The council leader finally stepped forward again. His voice was steady, but softer than before. Human vessel, he said, we see your strength. We understand your position. There was no reply at first. Only silence. Then. We did not hide to deceive you, the human voice said. We hid to observe. Some council members exchanged looks. Observe? The leader narrowed his eyes slightly. Observe what? There was a short pause. Your reaction, the human answered. The room grew still again. That answer changed everything. This was not just a meeting. It had been a test. From the very beginning. The leader spoke carefully now. And what have you learned? Another pause. Longer this time. Then the reply came, calm as ever. That you are not united. A quiet tension spread across the chamber. No one argued. Because it was true. Some had wanted peace. Some had feared humans. Some had already thought about war. The humans had seen all of it. Without saying a word, the leader took a slow breath. And now? Now we decide how to move forward, the human said. The words were simple, but their meaning was clear. The next step was in human hands. The leader straightened his posture. He knew this moment would define everything that came after. We welcomed you in peace, he said. That has not changed. The human replied quickly this time. And we respect that. For the first time since the fleet appeared, something shifted in the air. Not fear. Not tension. Something else. Understanding. The leader continued, more confident now. Then let this meeting continue as it was meant to be. No threats. No fear. A brief silence followed. Then. Agreed. The word echoed softly through the chamber. Outside, the Dreadnought began to change. Its lights dimmed slowly. Not shutting down. Just, stepping back. One by one, the smaller ships around it started to fade. Not moving away, but disappearing. Returning to invisibility. Within moments, the space around the station looked empty again. Only the single human ship remained. Just like at the beginning. Simple. Quiet. Peaceful. If someone had just arrived, they would never believe what had been there seconds ago. Inside the chamber, many members finally relaxed their shoulders. But no one forgot. They had seen the truth. They had felt it. The leader spoke one last time. Humans, why show us all of this, if you were going to hide it again? The answer came gently. Because trust built on lies does not last, the human said. Now you know who we are. The leader nodded slowly. Yes. Now they knew. Humans were not conquerors. They were not weak explorers. They were something else. A species that chose peace. But carried power strong enough to protect it. The human ship began to move again, slowly turning away from the station. Will you return? The leader asked. A final pause. Then. Yes, the human voice said. If peace remains. The signal ended. The small ship moved forward, then faded into the dark. Gone. But not really gone. Because now. The entire galaxy knew something it could never forget. That day was not remembered as the first meeting with humans. It was remembered as the day everything changed. The day the galaxy learned a simple truth. Peace was not the absence of power. Sometimes. It was the result of it.